follow-up to the culinary question, one of the things that still drives me curious about watching is it's always an adjective describing something in foods, describing something we already know, such and such kind of chocolate or such and kind of stew. Why do you think the writers didn't come up with just make up a word and you could, the response would be, well, it's some kind of meat or some kind of vegetable. You know what I'm saying? It's always sort of an adjective describing something we already know what it is.
We did that with that Alfarian hair pasta.
Pardon me?
You remember the Alfarian hair pasta? Yeah, that was kind of a description. That's what I did in my cookbook. I wrote this stupid Star Trek cookbook, but I tried to, describe every dish in terms of where it came from and why it was named like that and what were the properties of the food that went into it. But, I guess they didn't probably want to get into that. They had enough, fish to fry, so, Oh! What else we got there? You must be other questions out there. Yes, in the back. You, sir.
Yeah, how'd you feel about Neelix staying behind in the Delta Quadrant when the Voyager went back to Alpha Quadrant?
A couple of feelings. The first feeling was, it's a TV show, so I really wasn't staying anywhere. But I know you know that. But in terms of the TV show, I was happy that he found a wife and he had a child now, he had a family, and he was able to spend time with his own people and have a kind of an important place there because of his experience. And it was really a nice, I think in many ways, a better closure than any of the other characters on the show. He got a great farewell send-off, and he had a great place to go. And in fact, what would he do on Earth anyway? Here he had some real purpose. And so I think ultimately it was a really good thing for him. Yes, sir.
That's like you, Benson.
Benson, yes, that was a long time ago. Thank you. Yeah. Yes.
I have two questions.
Great.
First of all, I'd like to know if you've ever done stand-up comedy. And second part is, are you the long-lost twin brother of Robert Picardo?
Bob and I do look alike, and we auditioned for a lot of roles over the years, and sometimes he wins them and sometimes I win them. And we've appeared together sometimes. So we were in a movie called Wagons East, and some other stuff we've done together. And in terms of stand-up comedy, I've never officially done stand-up comedy, no. It's not something I've ever wanted to do. Although when I was a kid, I thought I might want to be a comic. I remember at a very young age watching stand-up comics on television, and like Alan King and Shelley Berman and people like that, and thinking that I used to look at them like magicians, because the joke was almost like the rabbit coming out of the hat. And at my very early age, I thought that they were special people who had funny things happen to them. Because they'd always say everything, true story, I'm walking down the street today, I'm going to do a joke. Funny thing happened to me. And I thought, God, these guys go through life and these funny things happen, and then they come up on TV and they tell people about it. So I was waiting all day for something really funny to happen, so I go and say, hey, Mom, true story, I'm in second grade. And I realized later on they had writers and stuff like that. But my great uncle was a stand-up comic, Joe Phillips. He was a vaudeville comic, and he was my dad's brother. And he made a living in the 30s, in the 20s and the 30s, doing stand-up on stage. And he used to come over to our house when I was a kid, and he would always tell jokes and stuff. And for me, that was like magic to me, And I still remember part of his routine. It was a long time ago. But he was this little guy. He was about 5'1". He'd come out on stage with these two big blonde bimbos. That was his act. He was on Jack Parr and Ed Sullivan. And he'd say, yeah, I have a friend named August A. August. The A is to break the monotony. He just went into the war the 1st of September. That was the last of August. He got over there, they said, fire at will. He said, who's Will? He said, yeah, I just got myself a hotel room overlooking the East River completely. Hot and cold running chambermaids. I have a room with an adjoining towel. And he had all this whole routine he did. And he did the same routine. It was like 10 minutes long, and he was a stand-up comic from the 20s. And so I thought that was the coolest thing in the world, But I have friends who are comics, but I don't know how they do it, you know. And I watched some of the comedy today, man. Like I was watching some comedy last night on TV, and these guys are pretty, they're out there, you know. I watch the roasts, you know. You ever watch the roast, the comedy roast? And it's fantastic. It makes me laugh. I was watching the one with, they roasted Bob Saget, you know, see that?
Oh, yeah.
Cloris Leachman was on. They were talking, this woman is so old, she lost her virginity to a druid. Her first STD was the plague. I mean, they come up with the foulest insults. I get a big kick out of that. But I write a lot of jokes, but I just use them with my friends, you know. Yes, sir.
What do you have in the works?
Well, I'm doing this Pushing Daisies, so that's pretty much what's going on.
That might be a regular recurring role.
It might be a recurring, yeah, so we'll see what happens. And, you know, you can only plan so far in advance. I got some theater things I'll probably be doing, but it's a matter of when the window opens up for that opportunity, you know. But not you know, things come out of the blue. You just don't know when something's going to pop. I mean, I was out in L.A. And got a call to audition for a Broadway play, and I flew into New York and auditioned and came back. They called me, and 3 days later I was packed up and moved to New York for 9 months. In 3 days. You just don't know what's going to happen.
Sort of like the weather.
Yeah, well, I like the weather back there. I don't like the heat. I don't like the heat at all. I'd much rather live in... If this industry was in Fairbanks, I'd be a happy man. Yes?
If I remember correctly, and I may be mistaken about this, you did an episode of Boston Legal last season. Some of the fans of the show refer to it as almost like a Star Trek reunion because so many Star Trek actors do guest spots on the show. Is there an atmosphere on the set of that show like that when former Star Trek actors see each other and are working together?
No, I mean, you say hi and everything like that, but I think that's just a coincidence that the dudes who produced that hired so many stars. I mean, the episode I was on, Bill Shatner, Renee Auberjonois, Armin Shimmerman, and myself were all in the same episode.
Wow.
And like we'd run into each other, and it was, you know, weird, but I don't know why it just seemed to be a coincidence. I don't think they don't think about that. But no, it's the atmosphere of Boston Legal when you're there, you know. I remember when I first got Star Trek, Renee was doing Deep Space Nine, and he'd be walking down the street, down the alley, you know, in front of Stage 17 with his Odo makeup on, and I'd be walking with my Neelix makeup on, and I'd yell all these things from Benson at him across the street. Hey, Clayton, the governor's like really angry at you. Peter, I don't have the time. It's very funny. It's very strange. Yes?
So, as Neelix, who was your favorite character to interact with? Because it seems you and Tuvok got along.
Yeah, Kim was, hands down, my favorite character to work with, because he was polar opposite of who Neelix was. And I follow that in real life. I love to irritate him as much as I can. Everybody thinks Tim is so serious because of his demeanor, you know? But he is the biggest cut up in the world, you know? And tremendous director, articulate and relaxed, and keeps the set. I've worked with him on several projects since then, and really knows how to, you know, set up the atmosphere so the actor feels good. But he was a lot of fun to crack up on the set. And I mean, I used to bug his ass. And he'd be up, you know, he was real serious about his lines, and he'd be up at the, you know, the console doing all this. Captain, I think there's a corned beef sandwich on deck 9, or whatever. And even during the take, I'd like sneak up under the console and sit up my head and go, Timmy, it's a TV show. Those buttons are fake. Try not to crack